4:39 in the morning. It's June 22nd, 2023. It's a hell of a thing for me to put out there regarding a video tribute for an exploration craft going down to see the wreckage. I'm saddened by this and expected this. When they lost track, when the company of OceanGate hired a shipping firm to launch their vehicle and do recovery, they hadn't heard from the ship. They had to call out anybody and everybody for Mayday. It just took them too damn long to get the resources in there necessary to find the dead bodies. I'm saying this because craft can only contain so much before in a spam in a can, and for how many people that they loaded up, that you just added 5 deaths to the Titanic site. We're talking about 22,500 feet of cubic water right above their heads, with a lot of pressure to crush a guy's skull if necessary. Way too much. An ordinary diver or even a deep sea diver couldn't even deal with that. Maybe 500 or more. I'm not an expert in it, but I'm not hopeful for the survivors either, if there are going to be any survivors. They said the ship was well designed, but I don't think so. It kind of still reminded me of a water dynamic spam in a can. If they actually find wreckage, I wish they had put up a grave marker in there just for King Neptune to see. Because there's no way man's supposed to be saying this. The sea does not give up its dead that easily. And anything in that level, I didn't think they thought the thing out thoroughly enough. According to what has been said, the craft was physically created. The shell of it was to deal with it, but there was supposed to be limited runs on it. It was supposed to have about 2 or 3 days worth of air, possibly food and water, if they managed the resources. But the thing that they could not get rid of that easily enough, and if they could, maybe it would have helped, or maybe it wouldn't. They would have about up to 48 hours worth of oxygen, because it takes about 8 hours going down and 8 hours coming back. Decompression. Much as I understand about that kind of situation, there's nitrogen in our bloodstream. And we're talking well below crush depth here. Divers usually go by stages, especially when they're doing deep diving, that they have to level out the nitrogen in their bloodstreams. Otherwise, they're going to be popping their vessels, and they die of it. They have hyperbaric chambers to stabilize people's blood, especially when they got what they call the bends, and people have died from the bends. It's very deadly. As much general knowledge as I understand it. It would have been taking them hours just to get back up, and they didn't have it. They've lost it. And I don't understand it. I don't get it. The need for man's pushing the envelope that far. Should have been thinking a lot further than that. We had sent up in the early space races what they called spam in a can, or what was affectionately called spam in a can. We sent up animals, we sent up humans to survive the rigors of space. A planet that would offer rescue and hope, and yet the entry back into it dangerous as hell. They hadn't, well, there was only one time that there was a loss of a space capsule a long time ago. These days, people have tried to make things a lot safer, but it's still dangerous. This is much dangerous as trying to rescue people from the crushing weight of the water. As much as I understand about science, which is something. I'm not a guru. I'm not lettered. And the thing of it is what I'm seeing these days. Gravity of the Earth still spinning, which means we're forced on Earth. And with that much water forced down onto the surface, that much weight of it, not just the life forms, maybe possibly sediment mixed in with it, combination of molecules of the oxygen and hydrogen, making a liquid state. The heavier the liquid, more deadlier it becomes. On the surface of the Earth, it's not all that deadly, except that maybe if you're getting yourself drowned because of the liquid going into your lungs, and then the lungs are used to the air. When we are born in a fluid state. In that fluid state, we can actually somewhat breathe. That's how we get our oxygen. And we are thrust into the world, and then we have to learn how to breathe on our own with the lungs, without the liquid going into it. Deep sea divers, I think for decades, have been discovering more and more ways to use the fluid, oxygenated fluid, to breathe when they go down in deeper depths. In order to avoid the bends as much. I don't know what they're going to do to get them out of there. The way the construction of the ship was, it seemed like it was sealed from the outside, and you had the ship, and then you had the top of it closed right onto it. And it would be a heavy seal to prevent the water from getting into it. No conning tower on it. No escape scuttle on it. Nothing. It's just sending a can of spam down. It's like if you weighed a can of spam with heavy weights and you put it into the water. Is there enough pressure to squeeze it crazy, or is there a chance the can will be leaking? If the can is leaking, water will find a way, force its way into it. I kept looking at the pictures and the videos of the Titan, of their OceanGate vessel that's doomed now. Practically turned the company upside down and probably out of business. design flaw of the ships. They should have had a conning tower on the top of it. They want a fluid dynamics on the thing. Well, the thing that Shield put on there was carbon dioxide, CO2, scrubbers on it. If it was going to be down there that long, then they need to have something to scrub out the carbon dioxide, make it breathable through filters and stuff. A buildup of that would limit their access to oxygen. Crush stuff. Beyond it. They wondered how come they couldn't raise up the Titanic, because the technology, if they did it, would probably disturb more of it. They use it as a cultural landmark now of a time long ago. She should have been left alone like the rest of the wrecks down there, but they still want to raise up the dead and steady off the bones. And it is a peaceful realm down below. Life forms have made the sunken wrecks that we've left there for decades, for centuries, their home. Hell, we even sent down military craft on purpose. We sent down decommissioned aircraft carriers to make artificial reefs. We sent down our garbage, literally. Then everything goes hell in a handbasket on it. No wonder we have problems with our food chain. We're killing ourselves one way or another. We go down there to search and to explore and see what kind of damage we've done to ourselves and to the environment. We're doing the same thing to space. Just how many more satellites do we need to keep launching up in there before the space junk comes raining down on our heads? It's insane what we'll do to each other. What will be done, what can, what has been done. And they're still dealing with it. I don't know. I don't know what the answers for these things are. The only thing I can tell you is dangerous down there. All that water pressure and no way to get these guys out. It's a hell of a thing for me to talk about. Politics could have been one of those things, but said before, the sea does not give up its dead so easily. And all we're going to have left is memories. And a company going downhill. Families. God be with them. God take care of them.